We had a little delays. Sorry about that. All right, everyone, thank you for being here. We got a packed house tonight. This is just absolutely nuts. Congratulations, everyone, on $14,000 Bitcoin. First things first, I want to bring up Classic Crust is a great host to us all, and they're gracious enough. We're working to death here. We just ask that you help us out, help them out, and grab a drink, meal, food, or support them while we're here. So this is an intro to Bitcoin class. I focused a lot on wallets in this class. So my first slide, I'm going to talk about, first question is what is Bitcoin? Most people have at least their introductory. They've read something, so that's why you're here. So I'm going to dig in. And I'm going to say, more importantly, what is Bitcoin? What are the characteristics of Bitcoin? What makes it different from anything that's come before Bitcoin?
Not fiat.
So Bitcoin is a purely digital currency. There's no physical coin. Bitcoin is decentralized. Very important. Every bullet point on this first slide here is a key factor of what makes Bitcoin important and unique. Decentralized. There's going to be a lot of buzzwords you'll hear. Decentralized being one of them. No central authority. We haven't known a financial system like that before. No central authority means when I transact between myself and another person, you and I, there's no clearinghouse, there's no bank facilitating that trade, which means we can trade peer-to-peer. Don't do this to me. Do the spacebar thing. We will see. As I mentioned, Bitcoin is peer-to-peer. So you hear the term digital cash. If I hand you a $10 bill and you walk away with it, we walk away from each other, that's an irreversible transaction. Bitcoin has the same characteristics. Like we're doing spacebar. So Bitcoin is open source. That's the code that Bitcoin runs on is open source. That's important because people much smarter than I can review the code line by line, and in fact have been doing so since its inception, looking for errors or flaws. And to date, there have been no material flaws, enough to bring the system down. There's bugs being fixed all the time, but the fact that it's open source, auditable, means there's no backdoors in there because the entire code base is reviewable. One of the most important factors, limited supply. So this is our scarcity that gives Bitcoin its value. There will only be 21 million Bitcoins that will ever exist. Unlike the US dollar, there is a predictable release schedule.
Doug?
Yes.
Question. When you say 21 million coins maximum, how can that coin be broken down?
So I'll get to one of these bullet points right after this. How do you build an economy on 21 million units? It's a question that's asked often. So this predictable release schedule. So new coins are created, or they have heard the term mined, every 10 minutes. So there's new Bitcoins being released on a schedule every 10 minutes. So based on the release schedule, the last Bitcoins won't be mined and released until the year 2140. Okay, this gets into your question. So this is, one of the misunderstandings of people just coming into it, people aren't understanding. A lot of people don't even realize that you don't have to buy a full Bitcoin. Bitcoin is divisible up to 8 digits. 8 decimal places. So you say, how do you run an economy, a global economy, on 21 million units? Well, down to the last decimal place, I believe it's 21 quadrillion units. Enough to drive an economy, a global economy. So that last digit, we call, kind of in honor of the creator of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, we call that smallest unit referred to as a Satoshi.
Is there such a thing as an actual Bitcoin?
No, purely digital. Okay, so Bitcoin is counterfeit resistant, you know, and so I say that, and then I qualify counterfeit proof after confirmations. So you'll learn more about confirmation as you kind of go through this Bitcoin journey, this rabbit hole you're going down that you're starting, and you'll find out a little more about confirmation. But basically, you know, when a Bitcoin transaction is first broadcast, it's vulnerable to what's called a double spend, which would be me sending one Bitcoin to you and the same Bitcoin to someone else seconds or moments later. Until there's a confirmations occur on average every 10 minutes, it's vulnerable to a double spend. Now, in order to pull off a double spend, it takes luck more than anything, so it's not easy to pull off, and you know, some technical skills and a lot of luck. Most of the time, anybody accepting Bitcoin for coffee, you know, merchant is one of the main use cases people talk about. You know, the theoretical ideas of a double spend is really not much of a concern in Bitcoin, except for very, very large amounts. So if I'm selling a Lamborghini to somebody, I'm going to wait for multiple confirmations. If I'm selling a cup of coffee, the site's not going to expend the resources to try to double spend a couple cents.
Is there a Marty?
Marty? Right there.
So I'm going to go into Bitcoin wallets. There's basically 4 basic types of Bitcoin wallets. I'm going to go over them in order from least secure to most secure, or more secure. First being web wallets, mobile and desktop wallets, hardware wallets, and cold storage or paper wallets. So I'm going to break down the pros and cons of each type. Web wallets, I like to call it wallet as a service. This is a where you would go to a website and they would offer you a wallet service, and they would offer the wallet to you and host it on their website on your behalf, and we'll get into why that can be good or bad. Mostly bad, by the way. Pros. So a web wallet is very user-friendly. It's going to be a familiar process that when we create an account online, it's a process we set up that we're familiar with it. This login password combo is what we're familiar with. You have traditional password recovery options. Again, familiarity. Also some peace of mind and safety in that having password recovery options. The web wallets, they're obviously the least secure, and I steer everyone away from them as quickly as possible. But they do have some, you know, advantages. They're often combined with other services. You can often buy Bitcoin from the website that you created your wallet at, and there's a host of other services that occasionally, you know, might make it beneficial to use a web wallet. Again, yeah, like I mentioned, buying, selling. With the web wallets, you can often attach a credit card, a bank account. Now they're going to put you through the ringer, and I imagine a lot of you have already experienced this already with the excessive KYC and AML, which is know your customer and so that's basically all the identity that they require for you to submit. Photo of your face, holding your ID next to you, the whole thing. Urine sample, firstborn. Yeah. Okay. So, the cons of a web wallet. You're going to hear this several times tonight. You do not control your private keys. And a phrase you'll hear many more times after that. Not your keys, not your coins. So when I say keys, a Bitcoin wallet consists of a public key and a private key. The public key is what you're provided with, and you can share freely. And in fact, you have to share it in order for people to be able to send you Bitcoin. Your private key is what you keep safe. It gives you your ability to redeem and spend that Bitcoin later, so that you don't share that. So when you have a web wallet, they have your private keys. That's the end of that story, and that is the number one thing why web wallets are so bad. And we'll go into some, actually in this next right into this. So because your private keys are generated by a third party, it's insecure because accounts are going to be vulnerable to hacking, dishonest, negligent website owners. I jumped one, but confiscation, seizure by government. So, we all know the Equifaxes, the Yahoo, all the breaches. The fact is, your private keys are not safe with anyone but you. And so, again, with reduced privacy, it's going to come along with all of that, too. I can also share, I see some taking pictures of some people. I'll also share this to the meetup group, or if you want to give me your email, I'll share the whole PowerPoint with everyone. So here's some examples of the web wallets. Some of you have probably heard some of these. Coinbase, local Bitcoins, blockchain, that's blockchain.info. So there's a little confusion there. Worst selection of a name ever because the confusion between blockchain, the technology that underlies Bitcoin, and blockchain.info, the company and wallet provider. So blockchain.info, it provides a wallet, airbits, and exchanges. And on the very last slide, the examples for each wallet type are going to be, while I field questions, all of the examples of all the 4 wallet types is going to all be displayed on one slide, so you can take your time and write them down and, take pictures whenever you want to have those for later. So the next category of wallets, mobile and desktop wallets. What are the pros here? You control your private keys, so this is the exact opposite we were talking about, the danger of a web wallet. When you create a wallet, that first startup process creates that private key, public key pairing. So the environment in which that process happens is very important. So on a web wallet and a desktop, or a mobile wallet and a desktop wallet, that process is going to occur locally on your device, as opposed to with a web wallet, it happens on their server. So the private key is generated in a more secure environment. Yep. So simple app install and software download, again, something we're very familiar with. So this is where we get into, this is truly peer-to-peer. If I own my private keys and I'm sending Bitcoin, there's no other party involved. As I mentioned on the first slide, that's one of the powerful things about Bitcoin, being able to spend money without peering eyes, and with privacy. So with the web wallet, we mentioned everything you've got to go through the ID, submitting your ID, and everything I say put you through for identity verification. You don't even have to provide so much as an email address to get started with Bitcoin and to download and launch and start using Bitcoin with the desktop or mobile wallet. So again, like a web wallet, that might say, well, you're in the wrong demographic, you're not the right age, anything. With a web wallet, you're in control of your own keys, your own money, and it's going to be available to everyone, regardless of age, location, economic status. Yeah, okay, yeah, you're among chart watchers here, so I just got an update on the price of Bitcoin. So what are cons to the mobile and desktop wallets? Well, we start getting into the idea of being your own bank and being in control of your own finances, your own wealth. There's some responsibility that's going to need to come along with that. So there is a level of responsibility you've got to take in being the master of your wealth and your finances and being your own bank. So with a web wallet, there's no password recovery. However, we will get into all is not lost. All of this is easily mitigated with the backup process that we'll cover tonight. I think after the talk, I think we're going to do some small groups. Maybe we'll break up, or maybe we'll do it as a whole. I don't know. But I know a lot of people are interested and curious about this backup process, and it is going to be one of the most important things you do is back up. In fact, probably one of these next bullet points I think is back up, back up, back up. So with this, like I said, the responsibility, the burden of securing and backing up your coins is going to be solely on you. Comes along with that, obviously, without a backup, coins are going to be lost forever in case of a lost phone, hard drive crash, what have you. So I say that your private keys and your wallet is generated locally on your device. This means they can be vulnerable to malware. Now, the mobile and desktop wallets are still, an order of magnitude more secure than your web wallets. However, a compromised device could be vulnerable to malicious software or stealing of those private keys. So here's some examples of your mobile and desktop wallets. Electrum is a desktop wallet. Bread Wallet is an iOS wallet. Mycelium is both iOS and Android. Jax, I believe, yes, Jax is both as well. And Armory, someone told me that Armory was gone. Are they still around? Yeah. Christian brought it. Okay. Yeah. No. Okay. Armory's a desktop. They focus very, very, very heavily on security. The next type of wallets, again, more secure than the last, are hardware wallets. I'll pass one around. Yeah, we'll do it afterwards. Anyway, it's a little separate device that you'll plug into your phone or your computer. Both, it'll connect both. And it holds your private keys in a more secure environment than your phone or your desktop. So what's our pros here on the hardware wallets? We've got the device is specifically made to do this one thing, and that's secure private keys. So the environment, the keys are generated in a very secure environment. It's going to be more secure than your phone or your PC. The private keys are going to be safe from malware that may already be on your phone, your device, your desktop. Very nice conveniences of these is that you can take some of the examples in the prior wallet types, the Mycelium, Electrum, I believe, and pair your hardware wallet with your version of Mycelium on your phone. And it's just simple, whether it's a USB on the desktop or they make a little dongle that goes into your mobile phone so that you can use a mobile wallet, but then the private keys are on the web wallet. So that has a very nice combination of convenience and security. Web wallets are great for long-term and high-balance storage. So anybody sitting on any significant amount of Bitcoin, which is anyone who bought before today, pretty much, get them off the web wallets, get them off the Coinbase, get them off the blockchain, get them off the Kraken, Gemini, all of the exchanges. What are the cons? There's going to be several of the cons that are the same as the mobile and desktop wallets. Again, no password recovery. Same big burden of securing and backing up your coins is going to be solely on you. Without a backup, your coins are going to be lost forever. If you lose them, so back up, back up, back up. You'll hear it 1,000 times. It is a little less convenient than your desktop and mobile wallets. The additional pulling it out, plugging it in. But what I recommend is a combination of different wallets for different use cases. You know, you'll keep your, you know, if you're still have money in the banking system, first of all, I'm sorry. But second of all, you don't keep your entire wealth in your bank or in your wallet in your pocket. So you can have a wallet that is on a hardware wallet with a higher balance. You can have everyday spending cash. Spending it here. I'll mention that plug for Classic Crust. They accept Bitcoin here as well. So anybody that wants to buy their pizza can pay in Bitcoin today. So examples of hardware wallets. There's just a handful.
You create a transaction on your phone.
Trezor, Ledger, and KeepKey are going to be the most well known.
It goes online on blockchain. Recorded.
So the last category, and the most secure of the four types, is cold storage and paper wallets. Probably some terms you've heard before. The concept didn't really exist before Bitcoin, so it's kind of hard to draw a parallel to something you've already been familiar with. But I'll do my best with it. So the pros of a paper wallet. Actually, I'm gonna back up. I'm gonna talk a little bit about hardware and paper wallets first before I go to the pros and cons, because I know this is probably around the point where it starts to get a little bit muddy as you know, understanding of this type of wallet. So, as I mentioned, your private key and your public key can be generated, or when it's generated, the environment in which it's generated is important. So we saw on the first one, the web wallets, whatever website you're using, they generated your private keys and they got them. Your mobile and desktop wallets, most of the time, that process, your private keys were generated most of the time while you were online. So there's a little bit of a vulnerability there. What paper wallets give you the advantage? You can produce or generate hardware, or not hardware, a cold storage or paper wallet completely offline. And you can take it as far as you want. Some people want to buy, would only do it on a machine brand new from the store, right out of the box. Some people, that's not even good enough. Or some people build their own computer, install a very secure version of Linux on it, unsolder the Wi-Fi connection on the motherboard. So I mean, there's, on the level of security, there's a big sliding scale. And again, you want to provide the level of security appropriate to the amount of Bitcoins that you're protecting. I'm not going to go to that length, you know, to protect a couple dollars. If I'm sitting obviously on a much larger balance, then apply a level of security that's appropriate for the amount that you're trying to protect. So, a cold storage and paper wallet, a passphrase or a password can be added for additional security. That would be in addition to the backup, which is what we're going to cover kind of probably right after the presentation and right before Q&A. Again, like the hardware wallet, it's very good for long-term and high balance storage. So with paper wallets, without a second off-site copy, so I stress this a lot. When we cover backups, I'm going to stress that you want to always have a second off-site copy. If your paper wallet, even if you have your backup on paper and your phone, and they're both in your house burns down, those are both your ability to redeem your coins. So have an off-site copy. As I mentioned, like people will take this to extremes for the level of coins that they're protecting. Brand new, only a brand new computer, fresh from the store. So that's a little less convenient, and you're gonna be looking at some additional steps to set this all up. Again, just a level that's appropriate. So one of the drawbacks to the hardware paper wallets. I mentioned that password or passphrase protection is an option. It's not a requirement. But if it's not password or passphrase protected, that private key, a paper wallet, your private key is going to be physically printed on a piece of paper, or there's some other cool products out there where you can, a form of engraving and some other things, products are out there. But because it has your private key on that actual backup there, if it's not passphrase protected, anyone with physical access to it's going to be able to take the Bitcoins off of it. So, let's just keep that in mind. Here's some examples of a few places. One's a product, a few of them are websites where you can go to generate these paper wallets. So the first is the websites where you can go to, bitaddress.org and bitcoinpaperwallet.com. I'll add that they are websites, and we already talked about how websites are bad in Bitcoin. However, both of the websites are built in with open source code that is also, like Bitcoin itself, reviewable and auditable. And what you can actually do with these is go to the source code, download a copy of the actual web page itself, put it on a flash drive, USB stick, take it to another computer that's offline, or just turn off your Wi-Fi, depending on, how secure you want to be with it. But you can get the download of the website, take it to another computer, go offline, open the web page, and the web page will actually work like it's online because of the type of code that it's written in. So you can go through the process, generate new wallet, bam, bam. Your public key, private key is going to be there. It's going to say, it'll take you through the steps to print it out, front and back, fold it over, tape it up, seal it, however you want to do it, laminate it, whatever. They're really slick. Crypto Steel, I wish I had one on me, but I really like it's a product. It's a type of hardware wallet where you can, they kind of came up with a cool little product and idea where you can kind of do your own engraving in a way of your private key. And so that's going to be fireproof, and that's what I like about the Crypto Steel. It's going to be fireproof, so if you don't have a second copy in a backup or an offsite location, your Crypto Steel is going to be fire waterproof. Just a few last points. Back up, back up, back up. Can't stress it enough. And that's what we're going to cover once this presentation is done here and before we go to Q&A, is what that process kind of looks like. Another thing, like I've stressed already, keep your offsite backups. Also mention this too, different wallets for different use cases. I have a wallet for my easy spending money. My larger balances go on my Trezor, my hardware wallet. If you've got a balance that you want to set it and forget it, and you don't want to spend it for 20 years, that is your hardware wallets and your paper wallets, and like the Crypto Steel and your cold storage. So, always an uncomfortable situation or topic, but have a plan for when you croak. And so there's no visa to call. There's no probate. There's nobody. If no one has the ability to access your coins, if you have the private keys and people come across your stuff and there's some barcodes and some weird metal engraved thing. Nobody knows what the heck it is. Just have a plan. There's lots of solutions out there. Just make sure, especially more important as we're seeing the Bitcoin price just go through the roof right now, to just have a plan so that people can access that. And I end on the most, not your keys, not your coins. I think that's the most important point here. So that was coming from the web wallets, talking about web wallets. Generate the keys and store them, keep them on your behalf. All of the other wallet types, you are in control of your private keys. So just remember that phrase, not your keys, not your coins. So that's the first question you want to be asking if you're choosing a wallet. So yeah, so this is the last slide. Like I said, that there was going to be a breakdown of all the different examples that I put up of the different wallet types. So I'll leave this up for a little while through the Q&A. Yeah.
If you're generating keys offline, it may be a dumb question, but how do you make sure that it's not duplicated in anyone else's case?
By someone else? Okay, because the number of possible combinations of a brand new wallet being created. So there's a term for that. It's called a collision. The number of possible combinations is so astronomically beyond numbers that you could even write. The odds of a collision are, for all intents and purposes, impossible. Because just the general, if you've seen a Bitcoin address before, you've seen how many characters, how long it is. If you think about, they tell you that a good secure password, if you were to, when you generate a password, is 16 random characters, combination, numbers, alphanumeric, special characters. With 16 random alphanumeric and special characters, it would take a supercomputer, decades, if not hundreds of years to crack. So that's just the number of possible combinations. So a collision is, for the most part, not really an issue.
How does the Internal Revenue Service
Hold on that. We'll start on the Q&A. I just kind of want to do a brief overview of what to expect with the backup process. It's very simple. It's going to take me 2 minutes to do. For most wallets, when you generate the wallet, your wallet is going to put you through a backup process.
Generate that key. You can download that.
And it's going to tell you to write down a seed. So that term seed, you're going to hear with backups. And what a seed is a combination of either 12, 18, or 24 random words. And again, this is not something we're familiar with. So it's kind of a strange process, but it's not complex. That's the good part. So it's kind of new, but your wallet's going to show you 12, 18, or 24 words. And that's your backup. You write that down. You can put those words on the crypto steel itself. You can write them on a piece of paper and laminate it. Mayonnaise jar in the backyard, whatever you want. But that's what the backup process looks like for most wallets. So I'll kind of mention at the same time, those are the newer, that's considered it's called an HD wallet, the types that use that 12 or 18 or 24 word seed. The older generation wallets, and they're still useful, just create, your backup is, rather than a list of random words, is that actual private key I've been talking about. And it's going to look similar to an actual Bitcoin address if you've seen them. Just a long, long string of random characters. And so that's another type of wallet, and that's called a single address wallet. And so those are 2 types that you may come across, you may see. I think kind of after the Q&A, I know a lot of people are here to kind of maybe either set up their first wallet. So we'll get a little more into detail kind of about the differences if you have questions about the difference between those. I'm going to leave this up and open up to questions. You had a question? I'm gonna go, you mentioned, how's the IRS do this? The IRS says that Bitcoin is property, and therefore subject to capital gains. So if you buy a Bitcoin for $1,000 and sell it for $2,000 later, your realized gain is $1,000, and that has to be reported to the IRS as capital gains. One here and then back there.
Can these wallets be used for other coins also?
Each wallet, no, a Bitcoin address or private key, public key pairing wouldn't work with other coins. But with the other coins, the process is very similar with most of them. You get a public key, private key pair. But it'll be specific to a Dash wallet or an Ethereum wallet or whatever.
If you bought through Coinbase, they did that whole photo thing and all your information. If you want to buy more, but you don't want that traceable, is there a way to buy it that's as safe but not as traceable? I know you rented from some of these other
Right.
ones, like the Red Wallet and all that, but that's not the same. You can't purchase it on there, right?
Correct. Correct.
So is that the best?
So there's always a trade-off, yeah, sometimes between anonymity and safety, you mentioned. So I'm a Bitcoin trader. I sell Bitcoin. I buy Bitcoin. I meet people in person for trading. So on the anonymity side, is going to be heavy on the anonymity side. On the safety side, you want to look at reputation. I mean, I've been trading for 4 years. I've got, a number of reviews, 100% positive feedback. The local Bitcoins is kind of like an eBay rating system. I'm not going anywhere. Everybody here, I know the owners here, and so yeah, you want to go on reputation. It's kind of like an eBay. So from the safety aspect, if you're meeting someone in person, you're going to find someone reputable.
So you actually have a site or a way that you sell it directly?
In person, but I also have Bitcoin ATMs. So there's Bitcoin ATMs. Now, when I say the anonymity with me, I am registered as a money service business, and so that's overseen by FinCEN, who's the arm of the federal government that oversees money service businesses. So by being compliant with FinCEN, I have thresholds where I have to collect ID. Anything above 3,000, I have to collect ID for. My ATMs, just because it's a little bit different environment, the thresholds are a little lower. You're going to have to provide ID for anything over 1,000.
Do you have any idea what percentage of the population is into Bitcoins or even knows of it?
Not a clue. I mean, you can guess. The question was, do I have any idea what percentage of the population is into Bitcoin or maybe owns Bitcoin? Yeah, all you can do is guess. I know Coinbase claims to be adding 40,000 new users a day. I don't know if that's right, but it's some insane number per day, new users per day. I think probably a year and a half ago or so, I heard someone throw out a figure, maybe 1 to 5 million people. It's growing exponentially. So I figure we're easily 10 million plus right now people. But that could be low. I mean, let's say.
So are you for hire and to be paid with Bitcoins?
Like consulting and whatnot?
Yeah, consulting. Ask you just questions.
Yes. Right now, so we actually want to open a Bitcoin store. We're talking in this education is a hot topic right now. So we would love to, and we're looking into that and pursuing that. Right now, I don't charge because, people criticize me for it, but I don't charge because most of the people, that build trust with me turn around and buy Bitcoin from me later. So, I'm happy to sit down with you and walk you through some of this.
Do you know anything about it's called Exodus IO?
Yeah, I've heard of Exodus. It's a desktop wallet, I believe, and it's multi-currency.
Right. You can pretty much do any currency, and it's integrated with. You can actually exchange currencies right on the platform itself.
Probably Shapeshift integrated.
Sure.
Shapeshift. I've heard good things. I mean, I haven't used it myself, but I've heard good things.
How secure would that? Because I guess it's secure as well as desktop.
Yeah, I mean, just like I said, Armory is really focused on. I know that they're focused on security. I don't know much about Exodus. I've heard good things, but I don't know, how much their focus is on security. But
I didn't understand when you were talking about having a desktop or a laptop computer and deleting the ability for Wi-Fi. You need to download whatever you're going to put on there to be able to put your Bitcoin or whatever you're carrying. So how would you?
So here's one of the fascinating. Okay, so the question was, you mentioning when I mentioned, going as far as unsoldering the Wi-Fi connection on your laptop to generate your public key. So it's one of the cool and interesting things about Bitcoin is when you generate a public key, private key, it uses a cryptographic process that does not require an internet connection. And so it runs a SHA-256 cryptographic process that generates your public key, private key. And there's certainly people that could explain this better than I could. But that offline generated public key, private key pair is going to be valid on the network. And so once that public key is generated, you send Bitcoins to it. You go check the blockchain, you'll see those coins there without that wallet ever having touched the internet. Did I screw that up badly at all? Ross would be the more technical one to see how bad I might have butchered that.
No, you're good.
If someone else has your seed, like your words, but not your treasure, can they still take it?
Yes. So that's very important. The question was, if someone has your seed but not your Trezor or your hardware wallet, could they take it? Yes, they could. Now, if you had a passphrase, if you added a passphrase option to it, it would make it more difficult. If you have obviously a very good passphrase, it can be nearly impossible. If you had a bad passphrase, though, that's kind of the same thing you'd apply to a typical. It could be brute force hacked.
So I noticed that it allows you the option to transfer it to another Trezor, wipe it, and transfer it back, and it charges fees for that. And then I was reading on a blog that in July they were charging up to $500 because it was so busy. They charged a higher fee. So then you're at the mercy of them. They could name their price, right? So if you have it on there, then you might be at the mercy of them.
Not exactly.
Okay.
So fees, the fee market is a free market. So what that means is the Bitcoin has a limited capacity to the number of transactions that can go through per second, per hour, per day. And when you have this massive adoption that we're seeing, and everybody wants to be processed. And so what happens with fees is fees are voluntary on the user's part. But what happens when everybody wants to go to the front of the line, the higher fee you offer, the more you're going to, the miners that are processing the fees or processing the transactions, they're going to scoop up all of the people who, if there's not enough room to process for this 10-minute period, they're going to scoop up all the ones with the highest fees. And so it's a free market in that it becomes a bidding war, essentially. And so when there's a lot of congestion on the network and there's way more transactions than the network can handle, if you really need your transaction to go soon, you're going to voluntarily get involved in that bidding war. So that's why I say it's not exactly, they don't charge whatever they want, but that's kind of how that works. Questions?
What trading platforms are you on?
Trading platforms? I suck at trading. I don't trade Bitcoin in a day trader top sense. Is that what you're?
Well, it's one of the most important platforms. Like if you wanted to do other cryptos, do you do other cryptos or just Bitcoin?
I hold balances of other cryptos just because I have customers that want to buy those various cryptos.
Right. So what platform do you buy those on?
I buy from Kraken. Is where I generally buy. He asked what exchange I do my buying, and I try not to buy from the exchanges at all. I try to source my Bitcoin from in-person trades locally. But when I do have to buy from exchange, right now I do buy from Kraken. So with using the exchanges, I mentioned you can put exchanges in the categories of web wallets. So if you have your money on an exchange, it's vulnerable to hack, dishonesty, all of the same things. So when I have to buy from an exchange, I do my purchase, I get them out of there. I move them to my hardware wallet.
Are you able to give your buy-sell spread as well as the maximum amount that you can transfer to somebody?
Explain that, I didn't quite follow.
So you know the spread that you charge for buying or selling.
Well, see, there's a difference. You're talking about a margin. I charge a margin above whatever spot price is. You can consider that as a retail sale. I'm buying wholesale and I'm selling retail. On an actual exchange, you're going onto a live trading floor. Picture the stock market where people are waving there, standing on the floor waiting, but bidders, buyers and sellers, and you have the spread you're talking about, the bid-ask spread, where people are negotiating and peer-to-peer and trading. So my service would be a little different than that.
And then maximum for instance, one Bitcoin right now is 14,000.
Yeah.
Are you prepared to do that, or could you do 50,000, 100,000? What's your maximum that you do?
Yeah, for larger amounts, I can do larger amounts. For larger amounts, I just add additional precautions. There's good escrow services out there, third party, where you can send the money to the escrow. I can send you the Bitcoin and release from escrow. There's, meeting in a bank. There's, so yeah, you just would apply some extra cost to that. But yeah, I can do larger sales.
What's the easiest way to maybe, if you had large amounts of Bitcoin, put that back into dollars for a purchase or something like that?
There's several ways, and each kind of has their pros and cons themselves. I can purchase large amounts. The cons of that is again the security here. You're meeting with someone in person that a lot of times you don't know, so reputation is going to be important. So, but the pro to that is you're going to have it instantly, no fuss, no hassle. On the flip side, getting money to an exchange, you don't want to worry about the safety security issue. But you're going to deal with delays. It's going to take all of the. If you're not already verified with your identity with the exchange, you're going to have to go through the identification process. Then you're going to have to get the money wired in, which may take a day, same day or wherever. But once you do wire it in, it may take a day or two or a week to even credit your account with that. So that's kind of trade-offs between. Those are two of the main types. Now the ATMs that I run are two-way as well. So for smaller amounts, you can go to the ATM and get cash out. Just send Bitcoin to the ATM and it'll spit out cash.
Okay, so I am at the step where I have my Coinbase and I bought the big three Bitcoin.
The what?
The big three or whatever.
Oh, okay, yeah, the different Ethereum and Litecoin.
So now, and I was told to move it over to Exodus wallet and do the keys and that, but I'm so stuck on this second step. So is that where someone like you I can call and you will?
Yep, absolutely.
Now what to do?
Yep,
Okay.
I do a lot of that. Almost every day. So yeah.
I'm watching YouTube videos and
yeah. Oh yeah, there's just by coming here, I'll tell you, with a Q&A like this, you'll learn more in an hour of Q&A than 3 days worth of YouTube
there's just
videos.
so many layers.
So much information. Yeah,
there's a ton. So that's where I'm stuck. I don't know now what to do.
Yeah. You can either call me or set it up, or most days, lately I'm actually here after 2 p.m. Sometimes usually around 3 or 4-ish I get here. And I just kind of pop open my laptop and I do trades and help people get set up. And
did you ever go to Sedona?
I just launched the Bitcoin ATM in Flagstaff last weekend.
Oh.
So yes, I will be back and forth
okay, then
to
I'll
Sedona
get in touch.
or by there. Yeah.
Should I just email you or?
Sure.
kind of like this question, if I had 10,000, hypothetically, in Bitcoin, and I wanted to keep some of it in gold, doable?
Sure. Yeah, anything's doable. It's just varying levels of friction. You know, routing money through the banking system is obviously lots of friction, especially large amounts. We all know that. If you walk in your bank and you say, I want to withdraw $20,000, and you say, well, hey, it's my money, I don't understand, what's the problem? You're probably going to get met with, well, no, you got to call, you can come back in 3 days and get it. So, right, so, yeah, so just additional friction with larger amounts. And, you know, trying to get from Bitcoin over to gold, a little bit of friction, but yeah, sure, anything can be done. Yeah, he says, well, I know there's some other services out there like Altoro and a few other. Oh, are you talking about gold to Bitcoin or the other way around, or both?
From Bitcoin to gold.
Yeah. Roberts Brokerage. And JM Bullion. They both accept Bitcoin for gold. Yes.
So when do you get to the point of like buying pizza and buying something on, you know, from another merchant, or what step is that? Is that after?
That's the easy fun part. Sending Bitcoin, the actual process
Yeah,
of it.
like how do you?
Whip out your phone. They're gonna display a little QR code. You're gonna whip out your phone. You're gonna hit send. It's gonna pull up your camera. You're gonna scan their QR
So
code.
is there an app? It's just a big
So
app.
the it's gone away. But the mobile wallets, Mycelium, Red,
Oh,
Jax, all of those
That
enables
makes sense.
sending and receiving.
and it's instant.
I haven't bought Bitcoin yet. I know I'm way out, so it makes me nervous now where the price is. And then when I look back at the dot-com boom, during the dot-com boom, AOL was the first kind of first thing went through the roof, we made a lot of money, but then it went bye-bye, and then it became Yahoo, Google, things like that. So I know this is like, you know, pie in the sky what's going to happen, but do you feel Bitcoin will be sustainable, or will there be a new coin eventually that makes it better, improves on it, like back then in the .com, that's going to replace it, that's maybe at this point in time, it's better to buy into something lower that's a better technology that might replace it, or not even replace it, but maybe be on even par, that there's competition and something like that.
The beauty about the entire space is that it is a completely wide open free market. So far, there's fairly limited regulation on it. There is some out there, obviously I'm compliant with myself. But from a competition aspect, competition is good. If somebody comes along and does better than Bitcoin, you know, I'm not married to Bitcoin if the trend goes that way. What I think is important is just the fact that that's able to have that process of the free market is able to work. Unlike when you talk about some of the other Googles, or whether it be the airlines or any of these industries that we think are not monopolies, but really, I mean, have so much advantage from stifling competition because of having the government on their side and lobbyists in them. So, as it stands right now, that's one of the greatest things is the fact that that is able to happen if something better comes along. So, I'm a big proponent of different tools for different. A carpenter has a toolbox, and you're not going to use the same tool for every job. So all these different currencies have different models, a different value proposition. And some are better at anonymity or privacy, and some are better at fast transactions, some are better at cheap transactions. So when you have that much competition, the people who win is the consumers, it's us.
Can I just create my own new Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Yes. I can just go out and create it and start selling it?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's happening about, 30 times a day probably.
That's right. Now, be careful about start selling it, that you're not selling
talk to the
regulated
SEC.
security.
Talk to the SEC first, yeah.
because the SEC definitely has a task force right now,
Yeah.
which probably one of you
The
guys is
SEC
with.
stepped up and, started, hammering down on the ICO, the ICOs.
Who's the SEC rep? Y'all want to raise your hand?
You are.
Yeah, this is the point of the meeting where we play spot the fed.
What do you think the futures market will have on the Bitcoin?
I think we're seeing an at least some signs of that today.
In 2 weeks it will know, right?
I think we're already seeing it. I think today's crazy run-up is anticipation. When when an event is known in advance, it's usually priced in. So I think you're going to see some speculation, some run-up beforehand. But then again, you may see a secondary boost when it actually goes live.
I think it's
It's very possible.
18.
Which,
No, it's at 14,000.
Yeah, we'll talk to you later. There's a couple services out there. We're talking about launching a laws
What do you know about the law that's going to be passed or is proposing that you spend $600 for license use coins that are going to have?
Yeah, I just know that it's, I really don't know any more than that. So what he mentioned was, there's a proposal, he asked about the IRS and how it's treated as capital gains. There's a proposal out there to allow for purchases under $600 to not be subject to capital gains. Obviously, I prefer a complete overhaul of how IRS views it in the first place, but that's better than nothing because for anyone who uses, the Bitcoin for daily purchases for your pizza, the way the IRS regulation says now is you have to record, if you buy $5 worth of pizza, that is you sold your Bitcoin, and you have to calculate your gain. How much did you acquire that $5 worth of Bitcoin for, whether it was 3 days ago or 6 months? It's an accounting nightmare, and it's pretty much an impossibility for doing anything more than 10, 20 coffee pizza purchases a year. So it definitely needs to be. So, at the very least, I would like to see something like that go through.
Okay, what is it, where is it at today?
Price? Price? Where was price at?
It's at 1,300 today.
It's 13.9 right now.
14,000 today. I've seen it as high as 14.5 a little earlier.
Where was it
Last week, 10.
It's up 4,300.
Yeah, I think it was like 12 this morning.
So would
and
you
it's 14.5.
not suggest to still buy more at this price than what it is right now?
Yeah, it's all relative. When we think about the idea of the stock price, and it's, there's a ceiling because a company, when you're buying a stock, a company is going to be limited to its revenue. So its earnings is not infinite. With Bitcoin, we only have, like he said, how many people in the world may be using right now? I don't know, maybe 0.2%, 0.1%, who knows? But if you start to look at adoption as 1-2% of the globe, you're not constrained by the things that constrain the stock price.
How about NSA?
I'm sure there's at least one here. Well, that's why the price goes up. Because there's very few sellers. And if there's very few people selling, and you got a crowd full of buyers, and you got a guy standing next to you, and you got one seller for both of us, and he says, I'll offer 14,000. I'll say, I'll offer 14,100. He says, no, I want it. So you get the idea. So yeah, when you have few sellers, and that's what drives the price up. Yeah. Oh, yeah, he wanted me to ask if anybody has access to or is selling a Trezor or knows any way to get our hands on them right now, because they are kind of, they're limited stock in very places, and that's why I think there's yeah, I did too. He said he saw some, there's some on Amazon, but it doesn't sound like it, but yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to.
All right, unless there's more questions, it looks like it might be wraps, but I'm sticking around. And so I think there's going to be. Thanks, everybody.